You've filled your tank 100 times. You've never thought about it once. That's the problem. Fueling a motorcycle looks like the most automatic thing you do. Pull up, grab the nozzle, squeeze the trigger, pay, ride away. 30 seconds. No decisions, no skill required. But fuel system failures, including pumps, carbs, injectors, and tanks, are consistently among the leading causes of unexpected mechanical breakdowns on bikes owners describe as well-maintained. Not neglected bikes, not high-mileage bikes, bikes that got their oil changed on time, their chains adjusted, their tires checked, bikes whose owners never once thought about how they fueled. There are 7 specific ways that routine is quietly destroying your bike. Most riders are hitting at least 3 of them every single fill-up. I have seen bikes come into shops with varnished carb bowls, rust flakes clogging fuel filters, and fuel pumps that gave out before the odometer hit 20,000 miles. The owners were baffled every time. They kept it topped up. They used name-brand fuel. They did not let it sit for months. But none of that was the issue. The issue was how they fueled. Habits built up over years that felt completely harmless because nothing went wrong right away. Fuel system damage is slow. It is quiet. It does not announce itself until the damage is already done and the repair bill is already written. Here is exactly what is happening every time you pull up to that pump. Start with the one that feels the most satisfying to do. Topping off. The pump clicks off. Tank's full. But you squeeze the trigger 2, 3, 4 more times to get it perfectly full, to round up to the next dollar, to feel like you got every last drop in there. Almost every rider does this. Almost every rider should stop. On modern fuel-injected bikes, there's a charcoal canister, part of the evaporative emissions system that captures fuel vapors from the tank so they do not vent into the atmosphere. That system is designed to handle vapors. It is not designed to handle liquid fuel. When you top off, you force liquid fuel into those vapor lines and into the canister itself. Over time, that saturates the charcoal, kills the canister's ability to function, and on some bikes causes rough, idle, hesitation, and failed emissions tests. On older carbureted bikes, the problem is different, but just as real. Overfilling forces raw fuel into the tank's overflow and vent lines. Those lines often run near the exhaust or along the frame. A hot engine, raw fuel, enclosed space. You can work out the math on that one. The pump clicks off for a reason. When it does, stop. That one habit change costs you nothing. This one is a safety issue, and it is more common than it should be. You pull into a busy station. Killing the engine feels like an extra step, so you leave it running, grab the nozzle, and fuel up. Nobody thinks anything of it. Here's what's actually happening. Gasoline vapors are heavier than air, around 3 to 4 times heavier. When you open the filler cap and start fueling, those vapors settle downward, toward the engine, toward the exhaust, toward anything hot enough to ignite them. Fueling-related fires at gas stations are rare, but when they do happen, they are almost always linked to one of 2 things: static discharge from re-entering a vehicle during fueling, or an open ignition source, a cigarette, a flame, or the heat and electrical components of a running engine in close proximity to concentrated vapor. The risk is low. The consequence of that risk going wrong is catastrophic, and turning your bike off takes 4 seconds. Kill the engine every time. No exceptions, no shortcuts. The next mistake costs riders money in 2 completely opposite directions, depending on which error they are making. Half of riders run premium fuel in a bike that does not need it because they think higher octane means better performance or more power. It does not. Octane rating is not an energy measurement. It is a measure of a fuel's resistance to knocking, uncontrolled auto-ignition of the fuel-air charge that causes damaging shock waves inside the cylinder. If your engine is not tuned for premium, running it does nothing for you. You are paying 30 to 50 cents more per gallon for zero benefit. The other half runs regular fuel in a high compression engine because it is cheaper and nothing seems wrong. That is the more dangerous mistake. High compression engines, twin-cylinder sport bikes, performance-tuned singles, anything with a compression ratio above roughly 10.5 to 1 are designed around a specific octane rating. Drop below that, an unburned fuel-air mixture auto-ignites before the normal flame front can reach it. The resulting shock wave slams into the piston crown near the top of its stroke at the worst possible moment for the engine structure. It sounds like a faint rattle or knock. Sometimes it sounds like nothing at all. But the damage is accumulating on the piston crown and the cylinder wall every single time it happens. I have seen pistons with detonation scarring from owners who swore the engine never knocked. It did not knock loud enough to notice. The engine was telling them something was wrong in a language too quiet to hear. By the time it was loud enough to hear, the engine was already done. Check your owner's manual. Find the minimum octane rating. Run at or above it. That is the whole answer. This is the one that's gotten worse over the last decade and will keep getting worse. E10, fuel blended with 10% ethanol, is now the standard at most pumps in the United States. E15, a 15% blend, is available at roughly 3,000 to 5,000 United States stations and growing, particularly in the Midwest. The labels are small. Most riders don't look, and that matters because ethanol does things to a motorcycle's fuel system that pure gasoline does not. Ethanol is hygroscopic. It absorbs water from the air. That water ends up in your tank, in your fuel lines, in your carb bowl or fuel rail. On a bike that sits for a month or more in humid conditions, ethanol blended fuel can phase separate. The ethanol and water sink to the bottom of the tank. The gasoline floats above it. What hits your carb first when you start up is the water-rich layer. Ethanol also degrades rubber. Fuel hose compounds, carb needle seals, and accelerator pump diaphragms are all designed for gasoline. Ethanol attacks those compounds over time. Older bikes from before 2000 and bikes with original rubber fuel lines are the most vulnerable. If you have a fiberglass tank or a vintage bike with an alloy carb body, ethanol can cause pitting and corrosion over extended exposure. A carb rebuild from ethanol damage runs $300 to $500 per carb on the low end. On a multi-carb inline 4, you're typically looking at $800 to $1,500 or more for the full set. Know what you're putting in. Find stations near you that carry ethanol, free fuel if your bike warrants it. At a minimum, don't leave ethanol blended fuel sitting for extended periods. Use a fuel stabilizer if the bike is going to sit for more than a few weeks. If this is the kind of thing you want to know before it turns into a $400 carburetor rebuild, subscribe. I cover this every week, and I do not hold back. This one surprises people. It is not just about what you put in, it is about when you stop to put it in. The first timing mistake is fueling right after a tanker truck delivers to the station. When a delivery truck pumps fuel into the underground storage tanks, it stirs up whatever has settled at the bottom, such as sediment, rust particles, and water that has accumulated over time. For the first 20 to 30 minutes after a delivery, that fuel is at its most disturbed. Your fuel filter is catching what it can. Your carburetor or fuel injectors are dealing with the rest. It is easy to spot a delivery. The truck is there, the cones are out. You might see the attendant updating prices. If you see any of that, keep riding. Give it at least half an hour. The tanks settle and the fuel clears. The second timing mistake is fueling right after an aggressive ride, a hard highway run, a canyon session, or stop and go in the heat. A hot tank means expanded fuel, a higher concentration of vapors when you open the cap. And on bikes with in-tank pumps, you are asking the pump to pull fuel, while everything around it is already heat-soaked. It is not an immediate catastrophe, but components that get pushed harder than they need to do not last as long as components that do not. This one is almost entirely invisible, which is why it is almost entirely ignored. When you pick up the pump nozzle and rest it against the lip of the filler neck, you are dragging whatever is on that nozzle, grease, grit, whatever the last person's tank left behind, directly into contact with your filler opening. And when you remove it, that nozzle scrapes whatever is on your filler neck back into the tank. The filler neck is one of the most contaminated spots on a bike in regular use. Road grime, dust, oil mist, bugs. It sits on top of the tank, exposed, and most riders never wipe it down. Every fill-up is a potential opportunity to introduce particulate into the fuel system. Your fuel filter catches this, but filters are not infinite. Every contaminant they trap is capacity they are using up. On bikes with tight tolerance injectors or carburetors, an overworked filter starts letting things through before you notice any symptoms. The fuel cap seal is the other thing nobody looks at. A cracked or hardened seal allows vapor to escape, affecting fuel delivery on long rides, and allows moisture in. It costs almost nothing to replace. Almost nobody does it until the cap starts leaking visibly. I have pulled fuel filters clogged with debris from bikes whose owners swore the tank was clean. The tank was fine. Nobody had ever touched the filler neck. Wipe it down before you fuel. Check your cap seal once a year. None of this takes more than 60 seconds. This is the one that destroys fuel systems, and it is the one most riders do habitually, confidently, because nothing ever seems to go wrong until it does. You know your reserve. You have ridden to the flashing light before and made it. You think it is fine. It is not. On carbureted bikes, the reserve pickup is positioned at the bottom of the tank, where everything you do not want accumulates. Water from condensation and ethanol phase separation collects there. Rust particles, sediment from years of fueling. Every time you pull from reserve, you are pulling from the dirtiest layer directly into the carb. Carb jets get clogged. Needle valves get contaminated. The symptoms show up months later, and nobody connects it back to the pump. On fuel-injected bikes with in-tank pumps, the problem is potentially more expensive. The pump is submerged in the tank so fuel can cool it. When the level drops below the pump inlet, that cooling disappears. The pump runs hotter. It cavitates, pulling air instead of fluid. The motor works harder than it is designed to. A new original equipment manufacturer fuel pump on a mid-range motorcycle typically costs $150 to $400 for the part alone, and with shop labor, you are commonly looking at $350 to $700 or more. Running your tank to reserve consistently does not kill the pump on Tuesday. It shaves months, then years off its lifespan. And when it finally goes, it goes at the worst possible time. I have seen bikes come in with fuel pumps that failed at 18,000 miles on machines that should run 60,000 miles without touching the pump. The owners ran the tank to the light every single fill-up for 3 years. That is what it cost them. Treat a quarter tank like empty. Fuel before you hit reserve. Not because you cannot make it to the next station, but because the fuel at the bottom of that tank is not the fuel you want running through your system, and your pump is not designed to work without it. Fueling looks like the simplest thing you do on a bike. It is not. It is the one thing you do on every single ride, more often than you check your tire pressure, more often than you adjust your chain, and most riders do it on autopilot for the entire life of the bike. Stop when the pump clicks. Kill the engine. Know your octane. Know what is in your fuel. Time your fill-ups. Keep the filler neck clean. Keep fuel in the tank. None of that takes more time. It takes about 30 seconds of attention you were not giving before, and that attention compounds into a clean fuel system, a long pump life, and no mystery breakdowns at 22,000 miles that trace back to a habit at a gas station 6 months ago. Fueling right does not take more time. It just takes knowing what you are actually doing.